If you want to learn how to burst your enemies like that, then stick around for the video.
Hi, my name is Azzy. Unlike most League of Legends content creators that make a guide on champions and how to play them, I'm not that experienced. I've only been playing for a couple of months, but I know that a lot of people want to learn how to play the Pride Stalker, so I'm making this guide to help people who want to get better at him, and I'm going to be teaching you what I wish I would have known when I started playing champion. So without further ado, let's get right into it. Rengar's entire kit is literally designed to make your enemies cry. So, what is his role? He is primarily played in the jungle, however, he's also finding great success in the top lane. He is an assassin, sub-role diver, however, he can also be played as a bruiser. Other unorthodox builds are Tank Rengar and AP Rengar.
Rengar is one of the few champions in League of Legends that almost require you to be a one-trick to perform consistently well, as he has quite a high skill ceiling. He might seem extremely weak from the perspective of someone who doesn't really play him, but a good Rengar can dictate the pace of a game, and he can completely change the way your enemies play. Therefore, not only is he one of the most rewarding champions to learn, he is also extremely satisfying once you really get good at him. So, what are the pros and cons of every ADC's worst nightmare? Rengar's pros are that he's insanely fun to play. He has high burst and one-shotting capabilities. His ferocity stacks give him tons of variation, making him a versatile jungler, and who doesn't like a very unique playstyle? The cons of him though are that he's very hard to master. If they start grouping and clumping together, Rengar is extremely ineffective. He has an interruptible ult, and his hard counters are tankiness and tons of hard crowd control.
Now let's get into his abilities. His passive, Unseen Predator, is where Rengar manages to dish out most of his damage. When in brush, Rengar's basic attack range is extended, causing him to leap to enemy targets within the radius. His second passive, Ferocity, is where Rengar gets his stacks. When at 0 Ferocity stacks, if Rengar jumps from a brush onto an enemy target, he gains 1 stack of Ferocity, and if he uses an ability at any point, he gets another stack. If out of combat for more than 7 seconds, Rengar loses all of his stacks and they reset back to 0. Upon reaching 4 stacks, Rengar's ability cooldowns are immediately refreshed and he gets an empowered version of his abilities. Upon consuming the stacks with an empowered ability, Rengar gains bonus movement speed. His third passive is his Bone Tooth Necklace, where for every unique champion takedown, he gains permanent attack damage. His Q is Savagery. Rengar stabs his target for bonus damage, and this is also used as an auto attack reset. He gains increased attack speed, and the empowered variant of this ability grants more damage and attack speed for longer. His W, Battle Roar, is what makes Rengar such a frustrating champion to play against. Upon cast, Rengar heals for 50% of the damage he took by champions in the last 1.5 seconds, where it's stored in a grey health bar. And this also accounts for 75% of the damage you took by monsters. The empowered variant of this ability also acts as a cleanse, ridding Rengar of any crowd control abilities. His E is Bola Strike. This is the only skill shot in Rengar's kit. Upon cast, Rengar throws out a bola that deals damage and slows the first enemy hit for 1.75 seconds. The empowered variant of this ability roots the target for 1.75 seconds. His ultimate is Thrill of the Hunt. Upon casting, Rengar gains increased movement speed and true sight of the nearest target. After channeling for 2 seconds, Rengar becomes camouflaged and is able to leap to targets without the need of brush. Leaping to a target deals bonus damage as well as reducing their armor slightly for 4 seconds.
Your job as an assassin is to kill a high priority target as fast as possible, and the most consistent keystone in the game at helping you with that is Electrocute. More damage in combos is always useful, however, I personally run Conquer on Rengar, seeing as it's highly unlikely you'll get matched up against 5 squishies and you can usually one-shot people without keystone damage once you get fed, so there's no point in running Electrocute for the most part. One rune that is a must pick on jungle Rengar nowadays is Sudden Impact. It's a no-brainer, seeing as Rengar is an assassin that orients around bushes, so the extra burst of lethality is always useful, especially for early game once you go into early skirmishes. My rune page is currently Conquer, Triumph, Legend Bloodline, Coup de Grace with Sudden Impact and Ultimate Hunter, Attack Speed, Adaptive Force and Armor. Running these runes make Rengar a force to be reckoned with, especially when he gets max Ultimate Hunter stacks and starts building cooldown reduction. You can reach a point where your ultimate is on a 20-second cooldown, so you can use it twice in a team fight, which can turn the tides in the favor of your team. However, a great alternative to Ultimate Hunter is Relentless Hunter. The movement speed bonus is great, allowing Rengar to have more map presence. If you feel like you need to play safer, you can run Inspiration as your secondary tree. Magical Footwear and Futures Market guarantee you a Tiamat on your first back, and the extra movement speed from Magical Footwear is always a nice bonus. For top lane Rengar, Conquer is a must pick, but in unfavorable matchups, Grasp of the Undying is a good choice. If I play top lane as Rengar, I run Conquer, Triumph Bloodline, Last Stand, Revitalize, Bone Plating, Attack Speed, Adaptive Force and Armor. Your builds will vary from game to game, but your core items are Tiamat, Duskblade of Drakthar, and Yuma's Ghostblade. You take Tiamat for the additional burst damage it gives you from its active ability, as well as making your clear healthier. Duskblade is Rengar's first power spike due to its cooldown reduction and lethality. Do not underestimate the sheer power of this item. If an enemy Rengar has this item before 15 or even 10 minutes, it's going to be rough for you. Same goes for Yuma's Ghostblade, except you get movement speed passively and from its active. Movement speed on Rengar is valuable, do not underestimate it, as well as lethality. Combine with his ultimate, and at that point, the only thing that can save you is hard crowd control, flash, or a stopwatch. Rengar's builds are mostly oriented around lethality. Shredding armor is important, seeing as it allows Rengar to do tons of damage to squishy targets like ADCs, which is what his main job is. Basically, Rengar's job is taking the A out of ADC and making them DC. Other items that Rengar builds are Edge of Night because of its spell shield, which allows you to one-shot people in the late game. It can block crowd control, which can be the difference between getting a kill or getting killed. Black Cleaver and Lord Dominic's Regards are also good picks when they have tougher targets. Alongside this, and depending on the situation, you can go for Umbral Glaive, Mercurial Scimitar, Storm Razor, Essence Reaver, Infinity Edge, Phantom Dancer, and Guardian Angel. If you want to build them like a tank, you can go for Deadman's Plate or Spirit Visage. But remember to orient yourself around the 3 core items listed above, and everything else will vary from game to game. For boots, all of the boots are viable on Rengar, but most people run either Ionian Boots of Lucidity for the cooldown reduction, or Boots of Mobility for the insane movement speed out of combat. Contrary to popular belief, Rengar's one-shot is not actually a one-shot. It's a series of inputs that can be executed so quickly your opponent doesn't even have a chance to react. Remember when I said that most of Rengar's damage comes from his brush jumping passive? Well, this is where the magical one-shot combos come in. The simplest way to execute a one-shot is as follows. Proc your passive by either standing in brush or casting your ultimate. Click on your target to start the leap, which should give you 1 stack of ferocity. Press W and cast E mid-jump, which will put you at 3 stacks. Then simply Q, Tiamat, and powered Q. Another way of executing this is either jumping from brush or ultimate, pressing Q to cast it, W, throw out E, Tiamat, Q. This is slightly slower than the previous method, but it's more consistent and easier to get the hang of. Obviously, the more you one-shot, the faster you will get at inputting the combo. Rengar is best utilized as an aggressive fighter. The only way Rengar will make his presence known to the enemy team is by playing hyper-aggressively, looking to invade the enemy jungler at level 3, contesting Scuttle, etc. Don't be afraid to play aggressively with Rengar. You have one of the best level 3 spikes in the game, and you should utilize it. Few champions can match the power of your level 3, especially Master Yi balance. But yeah, this is a champ with absurd burst that can 100-0 even at level 3. Take advantage of this. It's okay if you don't find a lead pre-level 6, but make up for it by making the enemy jungler not being able to get ahead by making his life hell. And you should look for lanes that have high kill potential. For example, their summoner spells are down, they have immobile champions, so on. And you should avoid ganking tanky, slippery, and disengaged lanes. Make sure your laner has some sort of CC as well to initiate the gank or lock down the target. And remember, all of Rengar's abilities allow him to be versatile if you play him right. Sometimes you'll have to save the stacks to cleanse a Morgana stun with your W, and that can get you a kill. Sometimes you'll have to stop a Riven after she flashed, and you'll use your Empowered Eater Looter, which can net your laner a kill. Get creative. Rengar does really well against squishy compositions, with low mobility and low amounts of crowd control abilities. This is by far the best situation to take Rengar into, seeing as he'll be at his peak against these kinds of teams. However, it's very rare that you'll get to play against a full team of squishies. On the opposite side of the spectrum, if you take Rengar into a full CC tank comp with high mobility, you're just asking to get shut down time and time again. Consider which champions are your win condition during champion select and focus on these. In terms of jungler versus jungler, Rengar does poorly against tanks. Volibear, Set, Rammus, Nunu, Olaf, and Warwick to name a few. On top of this, Master Yi, Lee Sin, and Shaco can give Rengar a hard time as well. Me personally, I always ban Master Yi, seeing as I can manage to play against literally any other champion in the jungle. On the contrary, Rengar does well in duels against other assassins since few can match his power. Kayn, Evelynn, Nidalee, Elise, and Echo are a few examples of this. Always utilize brushes as much as possible. They can make you slippery, and you can even dodge abilities such as Jarvan's ultimate and Camille's hookshot if you time it right by jumping onto a scuttle crab, a honeyfruit plant, or just an enemy champion. This is what makes Rengar frustrating to play against, especially in the top lane. When clearing camps, be sure to use your Q as an auto attack reset. Also, always try to kite the monsters in the brush so you can get extra autos off. Understand that you don't need to hit someone with your E to get your stack, you just have to throw it out. Use this when clearing turrets, seeing as using empowered abilities will allow you to get plates faster. Always try to hold on to your stacks. So long as you're in combat and you hit a minion every now and then, you won't lose them. Play around them. You could easily go for an empowered Q, regular Q poke on the enemy laner, and then get some health back using your W if they try to trade back. In lane, you're essentially a hunter in this sense, toying with your prey before you go for the throat. The only thing to worry about, and maybe a reason why you don't see it so much, is if you don't smash lane and can't roam, you're essentially worthless. But when played right, it changes the way the enemy team has to play the game. Don't ever try to one-shot someone if you're clumping together. Unless you're building AP Rengar, this is just a bad idea, seeing as there will be teammates to back your target up. Always max W second. Lower cooldowns, more heals, which will help you sustain in teamfights. Use your E to check bushes instead of face checking. If there is somebody there, you will gain a stack of ferocity. Also, always make sure that the target you're trying to assassinate doesn't have a Zhonya's, otherwise this might happen.
Right now.
Okay.
Your screen is probably dark.
Yes.
Oh.
Yep, that's me. You're probably wondering how I ended up in this situation.
Never mind, goodbye.
Sinner, you fucking idiot!
King Pringle.
Oh, let's go kill the non-existent guy in top.
Be sure to stopwatch. No, that's too. Don't use flash. Oh, what the? Hi, team.
Hi. Kurwa. Kurwa.
Hi, team. Oh, kurwa.
Kurwa, zajebać. Chodź tu, kurwa. Kurwa.
Hey. Hey, kurwa. Fuck, you're too fast! No!
Can I use my ult on a minion?
Yes.
O kurwa!